The year is 1925. Europe is still reeling from the aftermath of World War I, a devastating conflict that reshaped nations, economies, and societies. In Germany, a nation humiliated by the Treaty of Versailles, a dangerous narrative is beginning to take root. Amid economic turmoil, political instability, and widespread discontent, Adolf Hitler and his National Socialist German Workers' Party, or the Nazi Party, emerge as a force to be reckoned with. At the heart of their ideology lies a toxic blend of nationalism, antisemitism, and the scapegoating of the Jewish people. World War I had left Germany in ruins. The Treaty of Versailles, signed in 1919, imposed harsh reparations on the country, leading to economic collapse and hyperinflation. The German mark became virtually worthless, and ordinary citizens saw their savings evaporate overnight. For many Germans, the treaty was not just a legal document, but a symbol of national humiliation. This sense of betrayal gave rise to the stab-in-the-back myth, a conspiracy theory suggesting that Germany had been betrayed from within by socialists, communists, and, most prominently, Jews. The Jewish community in Germany was diverse, comprising both assimilated individuals who identified as Germans first and Jews second, and those who adhered strictly to their religious traditions. Despite being a small minority, less than 1% of the population, they became convenient scapegoats for Germany's woes. In 1925, Adolf Hitler was a rising political figure, but not yet the dictator he would become. 2 years earlier, in 1923, he had led the failed Beer Hall Putsch in Munich, an attempted coup to seize power. Arrested and imprisoned, Hitler used his time in jail to write Mein Kampf, or My Struggle, a manifesto outlining his ideological beliefs and political ambitions. Published in 1925, Mein Kampf was a deeply anti-Semitic work that framed Jews as the root of all evil. Hitler accused them of controlling finance, corrupting culture, and undermining the German race. He described Jews as parasites and called for their exclusion from German society. The book was not an immediate bestseller, but it gained traction among certain segments of the population, particularly those disillusioned with the Weimar Republic and looking for someone to blame for Germany's suffering. The Nazi Party was still relatively small in 1925, with limited influence beyond Bavaria. However, it was reorganizing and gaining momentum. After his release from prison, Hitler worked to rebuild the party, focusing on creating a centralized, disciplined organization. One of Hitler's key strategies was the use of propaganda. Joseph Goebbels, who would later become the Nazi Minister of Propaganda, was beginning to emerge as a master of manipulation. The Nazis used posters, speeches, and publications to spread their message, emphasizing themes of nationalism, racial purity, and antisemitism. In 1925, the Nazi Party also began forming paramilitary groups like the Sturmabteilung, or SA, also known as the Stormtroopers, to intimidate political opponents and create an atmosphere of fear. These groups often targeted Jewish businesses and communities, setting the stage for the widespread violence that would follow in the 1930s. While the Nazis were the most vocal proponents of anti-Semitism in 1925, they were not alone. Anti-Semitic attitudes were pervasive in German society, fueled by centuries of prejudice and new pseudo-scientific theories about race. Many Germans viewed Jews as outsiders, regardless of how long their families had lived in the country. This sentiment was exacerbated by the economic crisis, with Jewish bankers and business owners often falsely blamed for Germany's financial struggles. In addition to economic scapegoating, cultural anti-Semitism was rampant. Jews were accused of corrupting German art, literature, and music. The idea of a pure German culture, free from Jewish influence, became a central theme in Nazi propaganda. The events of 1925 were not happening in isolation. Across Europe, anti-Semitism was on the rise. In Russia, Jews had faced pogroms, violent attacks sanctioned by the state, for decades. In Poland and Hungary, nationalist movements also targeted Jewish communities. The United States, often seen as a beacon of freedom, was not immune to anti-Semitism either. The 1920s saw the rise of the Ku Klux Klan, which targeted Jews alongside African Americans and other minorities. This global wave of anti-Semitism provided a fertile ground for the spread of Nazi ideology. Hitler and his followers positioned themselves as part of a larger struggle to defend the Aryan race against what they saw as a Jewish threat. Despite the growing tide of anti-Semitism, Jewish communities in Germany and beyond demonstrated remarkable resilience. Jewish intellectuals, artists, and scientists continued to contribute to German society even as they faced discrimination and hostility. Organizations like the Central Association of German Citizens of Jewish Faith worked to combat anti-Semitism through education and advocacy. They argued that Jews were loyal Germans who deserved the same rights as their non-Jewish neighbors. However, these efforts were often met with indifference or outright hostility. The societal forces arrayed against them were too powerful to counteract entirely. Looking back from our vantage point today, the events of 1925 are a chilling prelude to what was to come. The seeds of hatred sown during this period would grow into the Holocaust, one of the darkest chapters in human history. Yet, understanding 1925 is crucial for understanding the dynamics that allowed the Nazis to rise to power. It was a time when fear, economic despair, and prejudice combined to create a perfect storm, a lesson that remains relevant in our world today. As we reflect on 1925, we must remember that history is not inevitable. The choices made by individuals and societies shape the future. While the Nazis succeeded in exploiting Germany's vulnerabilities, their rise was not a foregone conclusion. By studying this period, we honor the memory of those who suffered and renew our commitment to building a world free from hatred and bigotry. Let us learn from the past so that we can forge a better future. Thank you for watching. If you found this video insightful, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more historical explorations. Together, we can ensure that the lessons of history are never forgotten.